Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are enjoying my Ultima build. On this video, I'm going to do a bunch of things that may not change the visual aspect of the car very much, but they're all really necessary to get this thing on the road. You can see behind me, let me show you. I've got the fuel tanks mocked up and ready to be, not really ready to be riveted in, but I marked out exactly where they do need to be riveted in. Some of the changes I'm going to make to the fuel system are going to require a 6-16 AN bung to be welded on, so I need to get that done this week. But since the last video, I've got my intercooler lines run. I still need to zip tie them and fasten them up. I got my steering wheel delivered. This is the OMP Super Quadro steering wheel. It looks really cool. It's got the Raptor steering wheel buttons on there, and I've got the OMP quick release, so definitely really cool setup there. And then also I got the springs, the new springs that I ordered. These are not the factory springs. The factory springs are 700 pounds per inch spring rate. So these are, you can see the specs on there. So this means that they're 7 inches long. This means that they're 2.25 inner diameter and then 900 pounds spring rate. So up front I've got, you can see I've got 6-inch springs. Let's see, 6-inch springs, 2.25 inner diameter and 700 pound per inch spring rate. So I did that because a couple of the owners say that from the factory the spring rates are a little bit soft. Will McDonald, he was tracking his Evo at Laguna Seca and said that when he go into the hard braking zones, the front would rub. So I don't want that to happen, and hopefully this will mitigate it a little bit. Also, I put in the anti-gravity battery. That's the ATX 20 HD. It's really hard to show on video how small this thing is, but it looks like it belongs in like a Power Wheels, but it has 900 cranking amps. It's hilarious. So one of the things I talked about in my last video was the headers. You can see I took them off of the engine. They've been in all the videos just hanging off of the engine. Burnt Bronze was the winner of the voting, I guess. So I'm gonna get to sandblasting and Cerakoting the headers right now. Alright, so I'm all set up, ready to paint these things. Just sandblasted everything, wiped everything down, and I've got it hanging from the garage door. Don't worry, everything's hurricane rated, so those things are strong. But let's get these things painted. So I don't think these headers could have turned out any better at all. It's my first time spraying Cerakote. I was really surprised at how thin it was. It was like spraying water out of a spray gun, and I actually created a run in one of the parts right off the bat, and I was so disappointed, but the stuff flashes so fast and it dries so thin that I just hit it with another coat. Couldn't even tell. It wasn't on this header, it was on one of the other parts, but check that out, that burnt bronze. And then you can kind of see, here's like all the colors of the car. Got the red calipers and then the orange here. So I've got the side pod out right now because I'm going to be installing these wheel well brake ducts right here. They actually go in that space right there, and I'll cut that out. There's actually a template right there that the factory provides. So you put that template on the other side of that right there, cut it out, and then cut out into there. So I think that offers a pretty cool look to the car. It'll be interesting to see, like, when I'm driving, how much dirt and debris collects right here on the side pod. I think it actually looked pretty cool. Not that I plan to drive this car in the rain, but I bet it would probably look kind of cool watching the spray of the rain go through that and then up and over the wing. But these are actually in the garage, first off, because I was painting the inside of these. I can't flip it over right now because I only have one hand to use, but the other side of this is black, just like this. The underside was painted all black. Typically it's just fiberglass, and then you can kind of see the orange right through it. But I took these outside, painted them up. While it's in here, I'm going to install the little harness that comes in a bag, and then this plug goes into this headlight, which I have masked off, and then there's another plug that goes here into that headlight. I also have to take off those black plastic covers and put some expanding foam tape to seal it, and then you leave the bottom actually exposed because there needs to be some ventilation. And then the instructions say to drill a 1-inch hole right here, and then on the other side, and then run this harness through here. So I'll have to get that done. And then once I do, I'm going to hook it up, since it's so close, I'm gonna hook it up to the harness right here, and then plug in the battery and everything, and turn the ignition switch, and watch the headlights, or just sort of do a test to make sure that, you know, my relays are correct and everything, so it's all ready to go. But I'm gonna get to this brake duct right now. So there we go, with the side pod brake duct all done. It was a little dicey, a lot of trimming, cutting, fitting, trimming, cutting, to get the right fit. So I guess there's a reason why they don't show that on the option sheet, because it's actually a pretty decently involved install. But as you'll notice right here, moving on, got the wheels and tires mounted. These are 19 by 10 up front with 265, 30, 19 Toyo Proxies R888Rs, and those things just are killer. And then if that's not enough, moving on to the back, you can see that nice concave profile. These are BC forged wheels, 19 by 12 in the back. This is a 335, 30, 19, and just killing it. Looks so good on a small car like this with such a huge tire footprint. There's tons of mechanical grip, so that's what makes these things such killers on the track. So like I said, I was gonna hook up the battery and the front cables, so I did that. It's funny, so I hooked up the Raptor controller. So this is the Summit Technologies is what it's called. And if you'll see, I'm missing a screw right there, and my OCD is in overdrive right now. They didn't have 6 of these screws at the hardware store, just 5. But I'm gonna get one pretty soon. So check this out. So you take this off, and it has a circuit board right there with a battery, and then it uses a radio frequency to talk to this box, which then is connected to the main wiring harness, and it switches on and off whatever relays are attached to it. I don't think it messes with all relays, but everything here is controlled by the steering wheel. So you got the horn and the high beams, blinkers, hazards, everything else, windshield wipers. So I decided I wanted to test everything out to see if it worked and You know, I've heard some people have issues with their wiring harness. Some of the wires are mismatched, but doesn't seem to be the case for me. Looks like everything's all good. So I'm going to show you the sequence, the startup sequence of these headlights, and they're so cool. All right, check this out. So I'm going to turn the ignition on. This is simulating just right before starting the car. So you can see it lights up amber, and then it's going to slowly switch to white. And then that's how it sits when you're driving. And then here is, I'll show you from the steering wheel. Here's the Raptor steering wheel. One of my favorite parts. Much needed in South Florida with all the old people. Let's do turn signal. So you can see that sequential turn signal, very cool. You can hear the relay popping next to the car, and then it switches back to white. All right, and then we'll do regular driving lights. I don't know if you can see that on video. The camera's not low enough, but you can see something kind of turning on in there. And then we're going to do headlights. And then on the steering wheel, we can do, let's see, high beams. I don't think I'm in focus. Yeah, let's do high beams. So very, very cool. Pretty nifty for a kit car, pretty advanced. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off driving lights and headlight. And then it does a shutdown sequence as well. So check this out. Very, very cool. All right, so moving on from testing headlights, next order of business is installing my fuel pump into this tank right here. And I'm going a little outside the box with my fuel system. The typical Ultima fuel system uses a main lift pump that ties into, there's like little bungs right there, and then there's a small hard fuel line that goes down into a baffle system that's right down here. So what it does is, I think there's like some, maybe like 1 or 2 cross pipes, and I think they're like -6, or I don't know, they're pretty small. So you basically have to fill up one tank at the gas station and then go and then fill up the other tank and drive around. So I guess you'll never be one of those people that pulls up to the wrong side, because every side will be proper every time. But what I did is I had a -16 bung welded in right there. So my cross pipe is going to be very large. So I assume I could just fill up one side, and then as the fluids level, there's going to be a ton rushing out there into the other fuel tank. So we'll see how it works in practice, but I think it'll be fine. Another thing that I'm doing is, the typical Ultima uses a lift pump that draws out of those bungs, like I said. It then goes into another tank that is a surge tank. So that I think it typically mounts up high when this is all closed off by a panel. I think it's typically mounted up pretty high. And what it does is it keeps that tank full. So just in case you're going around corners and sloshing around this tank, sometimes it can't pick everything up perfectly because it'll be away from the fuel with gravity will move, and it'll go away from the lift point. So you'd starve the engine of fuel. And the surge tank is there to prevent the fuel getting starved from the engine. So you've got one pump going 100% all the time, then you've got another pump from the surge tank that feeds the engine, and that's going at 100% all the time. What that's doing is it's heating all the fuel up, and you're ripe for vapor lock, which vapor lock is when your fuel boils in the lines, and it basically boils to a vapor, and you can have problems on like hot starts, and if you're just driving vapor lock, you'll just not get fuel. So how that happens is there's typically like negative pressure because it's pulling from this tank and creating suction. So you have negative pressure, so the boiling point of the fuel goes down, whereas like in a radiator system, it's all under pressure. So the boiling point of the water goes up actually. So it won't boil right at 212. It'll actually, since it's under pressure, it goes up. So it's the opposite in a fuel system. So you can get vapor lock in that way because you've got pumps running at 100%, both of them. That's causing heat. Then you have headers next to these fuel tanks, which that's probably not the biggest cause of heat, but that's another one. Another huge cause of heat is it's going through the engine fuel rails, and the engine is heating up all the fuel, and then it's in a regulator, so all the fuel that's not being used by the engine is going back into the tanks. So you're just basically creating a loop of heat. So my fuel system's a little bit different, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'll unbox that now and show you what I've got. All right, so this is the main part of the fuel system. This is the Phantom Trifekta kit, and it's an in-tank system, and it sits in this bladder. What you do is you cut this with a bread knife and then stuff it in a 4.5-inch hole. And then this sits inside, this whole unit sits inside. And it uses triple Walbro 450 pumps. Each one of these pumps can handle like 700 horsepower. Although Walbro doesn't tell you whether or not that's EFI horsepower, if it's carbureted horsepower, supercharged, naturally aspirated, they just say like 700 horsepower. So this has 3 of them because I'm running E85 on a boosted application, so I want to have plenty of fuel. Don't want that to be a weak point at all. So it sits in this sort of bladder here, and it uses these check valves that I got. This is an option, and you put them in here and they allow fuel in, but they don't allow fuel out. So if you're pulling high G corners and the fuel kind of butts up against this wall of it, it can't seep out of here. So that's another awesome thing that Aeromotive does. A lot of guys that run these LT4 and LT5 crate engines, they use the Camaro Z01 pumps from GM, and it's an awesome design because it uses, it's like an all-in-one. It's basically like a smaller version of this. It has a bladder that's incorporated into it, and what it does is at idle, the pump runs a little bit higher than it needs to supply fuel to the engine. And what it does with that excess fuel is it dumps it out into the bladder, so it keeps the pumps cool at all times. And Aeromotive's analogous solution for that is to use what's called their jet siphon pump. So you put this little jet siphon pump right here, you take this out, put this in, and what it does is it uses a tube right here that is then sucking fuel out of this hole right here, and then this is a magnet, so you can put this magnet on the outside of the tank and it'll hold this piece right to the bottom. So what it does is it feeds fuel into this constantly, which drops it down into the bladder. So you're never starved for fuel. I'm trying to make it so that every situation is covered. Also, the GM ECU controls one pump. There's no provision for multiple pumps on it, so I had to come up with a solution. And what I did was I found a company called VaporWorks that allows me to stage these pumps. So this is my main one that's going to be going at all times, and then we have auxiliary pumps, that's the next 2. And VaporWorks provides a product, looks like this, and this is connected directly to the battery, and then this is connected to the GM map sensor that's right next to the supercharger. So once it hits, or once this detects a value that's equivalent to 3 PSI of the supercharger, it knows it's going to need more fuel. So it kicks on the auxiliary pumps and then reads the signal going to the main pump, so it ramps them up and down as needed. It doesn't just trigger, it doesn't just read the map sensor and say, okay, 3 PSI, boom, 100% aux pumps. It reads the pressure and then throttles them up and down using the PWM signal that it's getting from the main pump. Really cool system. Anyway, so when installing this, you put these pre-filters on all the pumps, and then they feed into these tubes like you saw when I pulled out earlier. And then this right here goes over this metal rod, and that allows, there's 1, 2, 3 pumps, so they're all sitting right there at the bottom of the tank grabbing fuel. With that, I'll show you where I'm going to mount it in the tank and kind of the things that I'm going to have to go through to get this thing to work. So this is the tank that the fuel system is going to go in. This is the driver's side tank, and It requires a 4.5-inch hole, like I said. I'm gonna do that right here. All right, so I've got the fuel tank here. I've got the hole drilled, and then all the little holes for this ring that goes in the tank. Instead of having that jet siphon pump run through the -16 line into the crossover tank, I'm gonna go ahead and connect it, which I already did. You can see right there. I connected it to the existing, or what was, the fuel tube that came over to in the baffle here. And the tank on the other side has the exact same thing, so I'm gonna allow this tube to then pump from the other tank. You can see this right here needs to go in this hole. You just kind of collapse this foam, and then here's all kinds of little baffle balls that allow fuel in and not out. And then here is the Phantom Trifecta right here, ready to roll. Got the block offs for the vent and the return, since this is a returnless system. Got the main, auxiliary, everything's wired up, and they sit in this little aluminum hat, which then is all attached to that metal, that threaded metal piece right there. I heated that up with a torch and bent it, since I'm mounting it on the side of this tank. And then you can see this is the jet siphon pump that the yellow tube will then connect to, and that will suck fuel from the other tank, and then it drops it out the bottom into this baffle so the other pumps can pick it up. So let's go ahead and install this, and then I can throw these fuel tanks in and side pods on. All right, so here I am ready to mount the tank up. Before I do, I need to put some expanding foam around the edges of this, and I need to put a piece of expanding foam on this bar right here, and then I need to put a piece that goes, it's on the tank, but it goes right here. You can see I've got all the lines and everything run with rubber gaskets. All this is nice and finalized, ready to go. And then I've got the side pod right here, and I've got this piece right here that glues in. It's a foam piece that sits against the fuel tank. And then underneath, I've got this all undercoated, looking really nice. So the whole bottom will look pretty uniform. And then it's got the existing, there's holes right here from the pre-fit and right here. So I just need to match those up and rivet this whole bottom part to the underside of the chassis. So I'm gonna get that going and then work on the other side, and then this thing will be on the ground. All right, so the side pods are on. You can kind of get an idea of just how wide this thing is from the back. And let's see, it's 5:05 in the morning. I think I started working down here at like 9 o'clock. But next step is to get this car on the ground. That's exactly what I'm gonna do right now. Throw on the wheels, drop this thing down, see what it looks like. So let's go. All right, so we've got a roller. Been waiting for this for a long time. I've never seen an Ultima in person until this one. And first impressions are that this thing is absolutely tiny. It's so low. And you can see, to give a good idea, check out, there's the steering wheel. You sit right about here. But look where that tire is in relation to the steering wheel. When you're sitting in it, you're basically just looking out and you see the tires right in front of you. It's like a monster go-kart. I could not be happier. I cannot believe that this thing is going to have a 1,000 horsepower LT5 in it. I think that's nuts. Maybe I'll agree with the people that said that it was too much. Right now I kind of do. So that's going to be a wrap for this video. I got a lot more done than I thought I was going to. At the beginning of this video I said that there weren't going to be too many visual changes, but there's nothing more visual than this thing sitting on the ground and those orange side pods on with the wheels and tires. Next steps are to put the canopy on top, and then integrated into that is the dash. So I need to cut holes for all the switches and the steering column and sort of set everything up to how I want it, with the start button in the middle and the aim dash, and that'll be fun to configure. So I need to get that going. After that, I can put the Alcantara dash on. It has orange stitching in it. Should look pretty cool. Then I need to slice little holes into that so that I can fit all those switches into the holes that I drilled. And then after that, I'm gonna put the rear bulkhead panel on and rivet that into place. And then basically it's dropping the engine in and connecting everything and bolting the transmission up. So that's basically it. So this thing's definitely on the home stretch. So thanks for watching, and leave a comment down below or criticism, either one, everything helps, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.